I never thought I'd find myself in a situation where I had to defend my wife's wardrobe from a middle-aged white woman, someone who wore designer yoga pants and had more time for gossip than for basic decency. But somehow, here we are. Hi, I'm Marcus Gray. My wife, Tasha, and I moved into the Greenfield Oaks neighborhood about a year ago. It's one of those upscale suburban areas, you know the kind. People keep to themselves, wave politely, maybe exchange a few good mornings at the mailbox if the weather's nice. We were the only black family on our street, but honestly, we're used to that. We've been in plenty of neighborhoods like that before. I'm a software engineer, and Tasha, well, she's a lawyer. We've earned our place here, even though some people look at us a little funny when we pull up in our driveway, especially when they notice the car I drive. I drive an old, classic 1965 Mustang. Not the newest thing on the block, but it's mine, and I love it. But I guess it didn't quite fit in with the perfect row of Teslas and Suburbans in our neighborhood. I'd always wave and nod, keeping to myself, because I wasn't here to make a scene. Tasha and I were here to enjoy some peace. Then there was Susan Jennings, our neighbor from next door. At first, she seemed friendly enough, like most folks here. Mid-50s, blonde hair, always impeccably put together. She'd stop by, bring some homemade muffins, and make small talk about the weather, the neighborhood, you know the usual. She was the type who'd compliment Tasha's outfits a lot, but it wasn't the nice kind of compliment. You know, the backhanded kind, like, oh, I didn't know lawyers made enough to afford things like that. Or, that dress is cute. It works with your, figure. Tasha always smiled and thanked her, but I could see her jaw tighten every time. Tasha has impeccable taste. She works hard for her wardrobe, and damn right, she deserves every piece of it. I'm proud of her. But Susan? I knew she was jealous. It wasn't the first time I'd seen that kind of envy, especially from people who thought that money should only look a certain way. And she was about to take it way too far. One morning, Tasha started asking if I'd noticed anything missing. Have you seen my red silk blouse? Or that pair of designer heels? I swear I had them last week. At first, I thought it was just misplaced stuff. You know how it is after MOVYing. But then more expensive things started disappearing, clothes with tags still on them, bags that had never been used. The worst part? There were no signs of forced entry. Our security system was solid. The house was locked. So, who the hell was stealing from us? Then one Tuesday afternoon, I came home early from work. I had a headache, so I decided to take a nap before Tasha came back from her meeting. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw Susan's car parked halfway on our driveway. Odd, but whatever. It was the next thing that got my attention. The side gate was slightly open, the one that led to our backyard and right up to our bedroom. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. It wasn't right. I entered quietly, slipped off my shoes, and tiptoed down the hall. The house was eerily silent, except for a faint humming sound coming from the bedroom. At that moment, something in me went cold. I crept up to the door, pushed it open just a crack, and there she was. Susan Jennings, standing in front of our bedroom mirror, wearing Tasha's red cocktail dress, struggling to zip it up. On the bed, a dozen other items from Tasha's closet neatly arranged like she was putting on a damn fashion show. I froze. It took a moment for my brain to catch up to what I was seeing. This wasn't just stealing. It was something else entirely. An invasion. A violation. And when she turned and saw me in the mirror, well, her face went from surprise to panicked in the blink of an eye. She tried to play it off. Marcus, hey, I can explain. I could barely contain myself. I stood in the doorway, my voice calm but laced with anger. Explain? You're in my house, wearing my wife's clothes. How exactly do you explain that? She stammered, tugging at the zipper of the dress. Well, I thought I could borrow these. You know, Tasha and I have become close. We talked about it. She said I could. Stop right there, I said, cutting her off. You think my wife gave you permission to steal from us? My mind was racing, and I already knew what was coming next. You're wearing my wife's dress and claiming she told you to take her things? Susan's face flickered between emotions, guilt, defiance, and then calculating. You don't understand, she said, trying to smooth her hair. I thought. I don't care what you thought, I snapped. Get out of my house. I reached for my phone and started recording, not trusting this woman for a second. She saw me, and just like that, the game was on. I'm calling 911, she said, pulling her phone from her purse. Go ahead, I said, voice even, but something in me was ice cold. I kept recording. If she thought she could lie her way out of this, I had proof. Her voice dropped an octave, fake fear creeping into it. 911, please help me. I'm at 157 Oak Ridge. This man is threatening me. I'm scared for my life. He's blocking the door, and I can't leave. I felt my stomach drop. She was doing it. She was calling the cops on me, the black guy, in my own house. She was painting me as the aggressor. You're getting closer, she said, lowering her voice, playing her role. He's a large black man. I don't know what he might do. I stayed calm, but my blood was boiling. I quickly dialed Tasha. Babe, listen to me. I need you to call 911 right now. Susan's in the bedroom, wearing your dress. She's stealing our clothes, and now she's called the cops, claiming I'm threatening her. I need you to call and tell them the truth. Tasha's lawyer instincts kicked in immediately. I'm on it, she said, and I heard her grab her keys, already heading home. Keep recording, she told me. The sirens came, and I had my phone up the whole time. 4 officers entered, guns drawn. I stood in the doorway, phone in hand, calmly explaining the situation. I wasn't going to let them turn this around on me. Not this time. And that's when it happened. One of the officers, a woman, noticed the clothes spread out across the bed. She took in the situation and turned to Susan. Ma'am, why are you wearing this dress? Because it's mine, Susan lied. He's trying to steal it from me. The officer didn't even flinch. Please put the lamp down, she said to Susan. We have a lot of questions for you. Susan's mask finally cracked. She stood there, defeated. The dress didn't look right on her body too different for it. She knew the jig was up. And that's when Tasha walked in. That's my Valentino, she said, cutting straight to the heart of it. And I have the receipt in my email. The situation went from bad to worse for Susan. Her defense was crumbling. And then, in a final act of desperation, she swung the crystal lamp at Tasha. The officers acted without hesitation. They tackled her to the ground, and the lamp shattered against the wall. The next few hours were a blur of paperwork, statements, and EVY Denke collection. But it didn't end there. As we left the police station, we learned something else. Susan wasn't just stealing from us. She'd been stealing from the whole neighborhood. For years. And it wasn't just clothes. She had bags, shoes, accessories. She'd been hiding it in her basement. Susan's husband, Richard, tried to get us EVY Ted after the arrest. He even filed bogus complaints about me running a business from home. That backfired spectacularly. The HOA voted him out, and he moved away, but the damage was done. A month later, the police had enough to charge Susan with first-degree burglary, grand larceny, and attempted assault with a deadly weapon. They found EVY Denke she'd been stealing for nearly a decade. And when the plea deal came, we agreed. 3 years in prison wasn't enough, but at least it was something. Life went on after that. We had friends now, real friends. People who stood by us. And despite everything, I couldn't help but feel a sense of justice. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. So now, here we are. I'm standing in our backyard, sipping on coffee, knowing that we've reclaimed our space. Susan might be behind bars, but we're finally at peace. And if you're wondering how all this started, it started with a red dress and a woman who thought she could take whatever she wanted. But you know what? She underestimated us. And the truth? It always comes out. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think justice was served? Or was the system flawed from the start? I'd love to hear your take. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories like this.